I, as Jim mentioned in the rule changes that some of the things that have changed regarding blocking below the waist, and he hit it right on the head. I think the way the rule has been modified or written now has really actually made it easier for us to officiate. And we're going to go through again. I don't want to beat a dead horse with the things that Jim covered, but we'll kind of go through a few of these things quickly. And then we've got a couple play examples that will show you that hopefully can demonstrate why it's easier. As Jim pointed out, Team A, blocking below the waist, linemen have to be in an initial position inside the tackle box and their initial line charge. And that initial line charge, you want to give them a kind of, as they come up out of their stance, their feet are going to move. But if that's one continuous movement as they start forward to block that opponent across from them, that's part of the initial line charge. When they drop back into pass type protection, okay, now that's not the initial line charge, but they can still block below the waist as long as they keep that block 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock and in front of them. I saw a question in the chat box and it said, does this restrict the player now from blocking low towards his own end line? And the answer to that is simply, if he's still in the tackle box, he was legal at the snap. If he keeps that block 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock and it's in the tackle box, it's a legal block. If the block is outside the tackle box and it's back towards their end line, then that is a foul. Okay. Team B, as Jim pointed out, Team B, who's lined up on the line of scrimmage, has to be in the tackle box. And you want part of that Team B player to be, as this example shows, here's our 5 yards left and right of the center where the ball's being snapped. You can take a look here. It's the question I know came up, can a tight end be in the tackle box? For simplicity, this is normal stance, normal splits. You're not going to put a tight end in there. However, as we look, we also see that, and we'll talk about the back and we'll talk about the wing, the number 0 there in a second. But number 3 here, he's permitted to block below the waist, but he's got to keep that block 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, keep it in front of him, okay? If he goes outside that, cuts from the side, then you have a foul. This player here, he's got a foot across the tackle, and the tackle's completely in the box. So if he has this foot across there, he's stationary, put this player inside the tackle box, okay? Now, if he goes in motion, now he's restricted himself. But if he's stationary at the snap, he's going to be good for blocking low straight on. Okay. Now, he goes in motion again. That'll be a foul if he blocks low anywhere. If he waits till the snap and now cuts across to the right, now he can block low in the tackle box, but that block has to be straight on, 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. But again, motion at the snap, he's restricted, totally restricted. Now, here's a situation where the player with the red arrow, we can't see his number, but he's like 84. And he's in the quote tackle position, but he's on the end of the line. He's the end. Now, this is the exception that can an end be in the tackle box? And the answer is yes, if he's the second player from the center. But if he's the third player, and that's just the simplest way to do it, to be in the tackle box, you got to be normal stance, normal splits, and you've got to be within 2 players of the center. If you're the third player or more, you're outside the tackle box. But in this situation here, the left end is inside the tackle box, okay? So it's not by your title of your position. It's by the position you're in on the field. Are you the first or second player to the left or right of the center in normal stance? Now we'll jump across to the other side where the tackle is. Number 65, as you can see, he's the third player. So he's outside the tackle box. There's absolutely no way he's within that 5 yards and that. So again, even though he's the tackle, he's restricted because he's outside the tackle box at the snap. Now the defensive player here. This defensive player, again, he's breaking the plane of the right guard or right tackle, number 70, looks like number 70. So we're putting him inside the tackle box. If he decides he's going to come across on his initial charge and cut low, that block will be legal. But if he's not breaking that area, like if we went over and we said that it was number 2, or we go back over to the left side where the 2 players are way out here to the left, they're outside the tackle box. They're totally restricted from the low block. All right, now our first play here. There's actually going to be 2 low blocks on this play. Okay. Now we'll look at them for why they're legal or why they're illegal. And then we'll look at them too for where's the responsibility and mechanics for how we should cover these plays. Player moves to the outside and he cuts low to the outside there. He was restricted at the snap. So it doesn't matter if this block was 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, or if it was on the side, or it was back towards his own end line. He was restricted at the snap, and this is outside the tackle box. Any player who committed that block over there has fouled. Okay. Now the left tackle, back just a little bit here. Keep an eye on the left tackle with his block. This is going to be an initial line charge. And he's blocked low. He's actually in front too, but he's in the tackle box. The block is low. This is a legal block. Again, that low block to the outside, that'll be a foul. Now let's go back and look from the standpoint of mechanics and how we'll cover these. We can say we're starting with keys, but the bottom line to it is that once we're out in this area here, I don't care who sees the low block. I don't care if it's the umpire, the wing, short wing official, the deep wing, the back judge. We're in zone coverage at this point. We're not on keys anymore. So when number 4 out there takes and throws that low block, it might be the deep wing. I would assume the deep wing on this side, possibly the back judge looking over, the umpire looking across. A variety of people could have this foul. As far as the low block by the tackle, you've got the umpire, and if you're using a center judge, and the center judge is to the left of the formation here, then that center judge will have that tackle also to determine that block. Crew of 7, your umpire is going to be really totally on that, possibly a look across by the referee. This is a block by team B now, okay? And we talked about players and who could block low, who's restricted. So right now, as we look here, number 89, I think I can't see the number in the middle, maybe 4, number 90, they're on the line, they can block low on their initial charge if they deem. You look at number 9, Number 9 is outside the tackle box. Number 9 is restricted and may not block low. And number 9 comes across and he's not going after the ball carrier. He's going after the blocker. So he's taking the blocker out of the play. That's not a legitimate attempt to go after the runner. And again, you know, when we think of low blocks, 99.9% of the time, we're thinking about team A. So this one might catch us by surprise. So it's critical because, you know, we're keying on the offensive players all the time and who's got responsibility for keys at the snap. I'm not sure we've spent much time over watching to see where the defensive players are and who can and who can't block in these situations. So this one could catch you by surprise. But if you're using a crew of 8 like this one is, I would hope that the center judge would have a good look at this and that the center judge would recognize he was outside, or the short wing to that side would see that that player was outside the tackle box and that cut is illegal. Now, the thing that's interesting, and Jim pointed this out because we had an earlier discussion, was all the games I watched this year, whether it was the games I was at or games I watched on TV, I think I only had one game where I was at that I saw an illegal low block called. So I think possibly the coaches are finding it easier to coach this rule. Maybe everybody's paranoid about blocking low, and so they're avoiding it, because we used to see wide receivers, slot backs, everybody else, they'd cut low in that first couple of yards, first 3 yards all the time. And we're not seeing much of that at all. So if they don't block low, that makes life easier on us. But the bottom line to it is coaches are doing a good job with it. As officials, if we get opportunities to do rules meetings for teams, for coaches, for players, we need to stress this about the low blocks. Make them paranoid. If you make them paranoid about it, they won't do it. So, you know, I would suggest to you that you get that opportunity to do that. But again, this rule is a lot simpler to officiate than it's ever been before. So let me know if there's any other questions that you may have there. And then we'll try and get them answered.
I'll give you one thing mechanically, particularly, I think that helped us this year with regards to the player that is catching a piece of the tackle and who's going to make that determination. We kind of threw it around all over the place, and ultimately we said the back judge had the best look at that. So using 0-2-0 before the snap, the back judge will say number 68 is out, only if he's determined that he's not catching a piece of the tackle. Any other non-communication assumes that everybody is clean. But if the back judge determines the player's out, he'll just come over the 0-2-0 before the snap and say so-and-so is out, which means he's not in the tackle box.
You know, good. A question came in about, did the left tackle on that first play we showed, did the left tackle leave the tackle box to make this block? Now, I would agree that his head and his shoulders probably are outside the tackle box at this point. But interpretation wise, if any part of his body is still in the tackle box, consider that block good. Okay, he make him be 100% outside the tackle box when he blocks low. Let's see if there's any other ones.
No, there's no more questions, Bill.
Yeah, there was one. When would you put an end?
Oh, there's one just came in, yeah.
Yeah. If the end is the third person, he's not in the box. If he's the, if the only way that end's going to be eligible for a low block is if he's the second player, they're running unbalanced to the other side. Then I'll put that end in there if it's normal splits. But if he's the third player, he's not in the tackle box. I'm keeping it simple to officiate, to be consistent.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill. I
Yes.
think it's my problem with the English, but my question was on the end, on the timing prospect. So when would you end the initial line charge? I don't know if you understand my question. Maybe it's
Okay,
problem.
I'm gonna say that if that's happening right, when he fires out, I'll give him a step or two going forward for that initial line charge, or if he's coming up out of his stance for pass blocking. But remember too, if he stays in the tackle box, then his requirement just simply is keep the block in front, be 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock.
Okay. Thanks very much, everyone. Thanks for that, Bill. Anything else, Bill, from yourself?
No, that's it. Like I say, I think after all the years of all the goofy things about adjacent sidelines and everything else, they've finally made it something we can officiate a lot easier.
Well, I never ever understood what non-adjacent lineman meant anyway, so.
Neither did I.
Okay, well, thanks very much for that, Bill. I'll let you stop sharing.
All right, we'll find a button for that one and